look, I'm going to go walk around because I don't know anything else to ask, and you're welcome to join me if you want to while I'm in here. But it was the most interesting and my very first that much interaction with a K2 in my entire life. And I loved it. It was bizarre.
Yeah, we do the REM pod up on the third floor, and it's the same with the REM pod. And the third floor right now does not have electricity. We shut the electricity off to the third floor. So what's really neat about that is now, if you're using a K2 or a REM pod, and you have your cell phone on airplane mode, or hopefully you leave it downstairs, there's no electrical interference up there whatsoever.
Amazing.
And the REM pod just goes crazy up there. And one of the things that's really intriguing about the REM pod is the REM pod generally is in stages. So, as you're touching it, it goes, stronger. It goes from, and I get the colors always mixed up, but, it's got kind of that stepped EMF kind of reading. Mm-hmm. The spirits have actually learned how to manipulate the REM pod up on the third floor, so they can actually respond with a certain color. And
yes.
That's something I've never seen anywhere else other than here. And, we were interacting on Saturday night with them, and we were asking them to turn the red one on, and the red one would go on, and you turn the yellow one on. And the REM pods aren't generally supposed to work that way. They're supposed to be, staged so that the stronger the signal, the more the lights go on. And so for them to be able to skip, a couple of stages and go to the end, that was really cool. It was a really, really neat experience. And, we heard some disembodied voices up there, and got a bunch of EVPs up there. And, it was kind of funny because when we were all leaving, we were kind of done with the session, and we were going back to work. And we heard, goodbye. And everybody looked at each other like, who was that? And we all kind of turned around and looked, and, there's only 4 of us up there, 5 of us, I think, 4 or 5 of us up there. And everybody's looking at each other like, okay, who said that? Who said that? But the building was so vocal. And I actually had 2 people in the building who have just become volunteers just recently. And one of the girls was actually, she's scared to death.
Oh.
She's just like, oh my God, did you hear that? And I'm like, that's why we do this. This is really cool. It was actually, she had come down to help, tear some walls out and all other stuff. And then during one of our breaks, we went up there. So it was actually her first time in a paranormal experience that she had. And she's now hooked. She'll text me and, how's the building doing? Did you guys, anything new happen? And that's that part. That's what we talked about earlier, is that, this was a young lady. She's probably 19 or 20 years old. And it just grabbed her. And, once the fear went away, being in the dark and having, and I think if I remember correctly, I think she actually had her right shoulder grabbed when we were up there, and she jumped, and she was like, who did that? Who did that? But nobody was near her.
Right.
And she was like, somebody just grabbed my shoulder. And I think once she settled down and realized what was going on, and she started to actually enjoy the session upstairs, she became very addicted. And like I said, now she'll call me or text me, and she's like, how's the building? I'm coming back down. This is the date I'm coming back down to help out and all that other stuff. So, and that's what I mean. This building just grabs you, and it just draws you in, and it makes you just want to be here. And, every time I leave and I lock that front door to go home, I miss it. There's a part of me inside that's just kind of, a little teary-eyed and a little crying and like, oh my God, I've got, I'm not going to be there till tomorrow. And, you kind of lay in bed thinking, oh, that was so cool. Did that really happen? And so it's just, like I said, it's one of the most unique buildings I've ever been in, and of course I'm a little biased because I own the building, but it really is.
No.
I mean, I've been around to other places like Waverly Hills and all that other stuff. And, this building it's really, you've been here. It's one of the most active buildings I have ever had the opportunity to investigate in my entire life. And what's the coolest about it is, like I said, it could be noon or it could be midnight. It just doesn't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't turn itself on or off. It just happens when it happens. And, it's kind of like a roller coaster. You just kind of grab onto that harness and hope for the best. And it never disappoints. And everybody I talk to, they all say the same thing. it's just such a building that it just doesn't disappoint. I haven't talked to anybody yet who hasn't had at least, one or two experiences in the building. And we all know, I've been to buildings before where you spend 10 or 12 hours in the building and you kind of fall asleep in the chair because there's really nothing going on. And this building, it'll definitely give you a run for your money when you're here doing your investigation. So I'm really thankful, that the city of South Pittsburgh is allowing us to continue, moving forward with the building. And most importantly, to all the listeners out there, thank you for the support. Thank you for allowing us to keep the building going and all that good stuff. Because it really does mean a lot to me. It means a lot to me for the people who are cheering us on and giving us energy to do this on a daily basis. And, if it wasn't for all that support, that's the key to all of this, is that I really, really appreciate everybody who's sticking out, and you're doing great. And we are. And I'm really thankful that we got to save such a great piece of Tennessee history, because one of the things that you're going to find about Renee and I is that we're sifting through all of the old, rumors and stories that were being told when you did your paranormal walkthrough with, old management. And we're finding a lot of the stories that were told weren't necessarily true.
Yes.
And there's a lot more history here that's way good. And we're kind of having a really hard time actually trying to find anything that really has bad history. Everything that we're coming across in the historical sense has been really positive. Renee's talking to a lot of people in town. I'm talking to a lot of people in town, and this was a real state-of-the-art medical facility back in its time.
Yes, it was.
And a lot of the things that old management and ownership were talking about never happened.
Yes.
And I think that's what really makes me the angriest, is this building speaks for itself. We don't need to tell bad stories about it. We don't need to make up anything about it. We don't need to make up lies. Anybody who's investigated here knows this building does it on its own. When you do your walkthrough, when we do the tour and you guys come, whether it's me or Renee or one of my teammates, you're going to get the truth from us. You're going to find out exactly what happened in this building, and all the nurses and doctors and everybody who saved lives here or brought new lives into the world. We're going to tell their stories, and we're going to tell it the right way. And that's something that's as exciting as the actual paranormal investigating, because there just was a lot of, there are a lot of good doctors in this building. There are a lot of good nurses. There's, Art, who took care of the building for many, many years, who's still around and living in Alabama. He's a great guy too. So those are all stories that we're going to tell people, and hopefully they listen, and it enhances their stay when they're here.
How cool is this? One of the people in chat just said, that's refreshing, the truth there. And I just think that's a beautiful thing. Like you said, there's enough history there, and there's enough people who know what the activity is. They've experienced it for decades, and you don't have to embellish when you've got the real thing.
No, and one of the stories that I think is really, really neat, I was here, let's say it was probably about 2 or 3 years ago. We were doing our investigation, and it was the middle of summer, and we had just got done investigating, and we headed over to the Waffle House over there in Kimball, or Jess, I think it was Kimball. And we were sat down, and, after an investigation in the middle of summer in Tennessee, you don't look real fresh.
That's true.
You look pretty tired. You look pretty harsh. And the little girl, walks up to us, and she says, what's your order? So we're giving our order. She, oh my God, you guys look terrible. Where were you? And we all kind of chuckled, and we laughed, and we're like, well, we're at Old South Pittsburg doing an investigation. And she looks at us dead in the eyes, and she says, I was one of the last babies that was born there.
How cool.
And it was just the neatest thing. I'm not going to share her whole story with her, because actually it's a really, it's a real personal story that she had told us. But yeah, she was one of the last babies that was actually born here. And we run into that a lot, where, I'm very proud of the building and my team. And so I'll wear, my T-shirts around that say Haunted Old South Pittsburg on them. And, I'll be walking through town or through Walmart, and somebody will stop me and grab me by the shoulder, and they'll look at me and they go, you know, I broke a leg, and Dr. So-and-so was the one who set my leg there. Or somebody will pull me by and they'll go, is that place really haunted? And it's just such a great conversation piece.
Yes, it
for
is.
the area. But it's neat to actually run into people who have actually had a medical, surgery done here or born here or something like that. And then you sit down and you talk to them. And, I was at Walmart one night. I think we were there for almost an hour and 45 minutes because one of the ladies was telling her whole life story about, how she used to come here when she was sick and she, the doctors were so great to her and she had surgery and, and it was just so neat, for her to tell us like, the stories of the care that the hospital had given her and her family all came here. And so it's really neat to be part of that. And it's really neat to meet a lot of the people who utilize the hospital for the medical purposes. And, and then they're like, oh, can we go back? And we're like, of course, we're going to do, walking tours. And they're, no, we want to see the paranormal end of it, and everybody says the ghost end of it. I'm like, you're more than welcome to it. We even have a story today. I mean, we had the electric guy that came in today because he's, they're looking at the electricity, and we walked him through the building, and he walked out. He was scared to death.
Oh.
And, him and Renee were talking, and he felt a real tightness in his chest. And, he's sitting on the front porch, and we're talking, and you could see the look on his face. Like he was just, oh my gosh, that's the first time I've ever been in this building. Just to see the look on his face. So, of course, Renee invited him back to, do an overnight investigation one night when we're working. He's like, no way, not for me.
Oh,
it was really neat. But like I said, it was cool to actually see somebody like that who, is in the community but has never been in the building, and to give them that opportunity to walk through it and kind of explain what was there and here and everywhere. And then he did have some type of paranormal experience because when he was sitting out on the foyer here, he was, my chest is a little tight and I'm feeling a little, he said, feeling a little discombobulated. And I was like, yeah, you are probably being checked out by our residents. And yeah, so it was kind of neat. It was neat to see somebody new like that walk in the building.
I think that's fascinating. And yeah, we're almost up against our second break, but I just have to say that aren't you so excited by all of the interaction that you're getting? These people are trusting you. They believe in you. They are fully supporting this action that you're taking. I think that is just wonderful. That has to be one of the best parts.
It is, and it is really neat. It is really neat that we're getting so much support from everybody and everywhere. And, the city wanted, first of all, everybody knows I did buy it from the IRS auction.
Yes.
So, there's no secret there. If you go on the internet, you're going to find it. But the city didn't want this building just sitting here decaying and rotting away to nothing. And they also didn't want to spend the millions upon millions of dollars it would take for them to demolish it. To tear something down like that, it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
And then to have this, beautiful piece of property that's just vacant, with nothing here but a parking lot and no hospital anymore. I think the city realized that it was a good idea. To keep it and to keep it alive and to allow us to do our thing. There are certain, I've had a lot of meetings with the city. There are a lot of stipulations that we have to abide by that, old management ownership wasn't doing,
I know,
and a lot of people do that. Pardon?
I said, I know. That's just, but I'm going to have to interrupt you. I am so sorry. I just keep interrupting you, but we have to go to break. We will be back in 2 minutes, folks. So hang in there because this is part that's interesting. So we will be right back.